Hello lovely people, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the first time I've done this, so it is an experiment for me. We'll see how it goes. I thought I would start each recording that I do with a little retrospective of the kind of art I've done in the past week or so. Since I am recording this October 1st, the first day of Inktober, the past week or so I've been playing around with pencil sketches and ink sketches and some work with colored inks to kind of prepare myself. So this is a sketchbook I carry around with me every day, so that's why it's falling apart. And then I have a sketchbook I keep at home, slightly better paper, and I can see the results. I have a bunch of sketches of calla lilies. There's this one, and then a little later there's one playing around with different inks. And I also have a bunch of sketches of poses using reference photos from Senshi Stock. I really like her pose compendium. And bunnies. I do not have a background in art. I'm just starting out. I have a background in science and in music, but a year and a half ago I thought it would be fun to stretch my wings a little bit, try some new stuff. The parrots here are highlighter and ink, and I really like the vibrancy that comes from that. So about a year and a half ago, I started taking art classes of various kinds at the local adult education school, and it has been a blast. This is an exercise from my watercolor and pen and ink class that started a couple weeks ago. So I thought what I would do for my first Inktober painting is Pussy Willows. I love Pussy Willows. They're adorable. So my inspiration for this is more of the kind of Japanese style ink brush art, although I definitely don't have the talent to do single stroke elegant lines the way they do. And for the Pussy Willows, I thought I would use a resist. So what I'm doing here is I'm using art masking fluid, which is kind of like a rubber cement. And I'm just painting where the Pussy Willow fluff balls are, which is why I had to do a sketch of the lines of the twigs beforehand, because I need to place them precisely. So sitting here playing with the rubber cement. The paintbrush I have there is actually a really cheap, crappy nail art paintbrush that I got in a large set. This material is dreadful for paintbrushes. Don't use good brushes for the resist. So yeah, I'm just filling in all the little ovals along the twigs that I sketched in. And then here I'm using a Tombow marker. It's a water-soluble ink marker, and rather than draw directly on the page, I scribbled on the plate and diluted it in water. I've done a bunch of watercolor lately, so I'm treating this a little bit more like watercolor than standard pen and ink. But it is ink. It is ink that I am using, so I am not cheating and using other dyes. Yep, and then have to sit and let it dry. Everything has to dry. And then here I'm using India ink. This is the Winsor Newton India ink. It's non-waterproof, so it is soluble in water. And I'm making a couple of different concentrations, thinner and thinner, because I want the Pussy Willows in the back, the twigs from those, to be paler, and the ones in front to be darker. So I'm very carefully following along, and you can see the resist solution dries a little bit yellow, makes it easier to see, which is kind of nice. I discovered something when I was researching Pussy Willows. Apparently, as well as the nice pretty standard white ones with the white cotton fluff ball look, they also come in black. So you can do a more Halloween-y look, I guess, with the black fuzzball ones. They're pretty cool. I stuck with the standard white ones for here because I wanted to play with the resist. So here I'm putting down the lines in India ink and then trying to do a little bit of shading. I want this to be fairly not super realistic, a little bit abstract, so I'm not being incredibly precise. And then after you let that dry, peeling off the resist, which is always a little bit fun. You got to be careful, it can tear the paper. I tore the paper a little bit right there. So you have to be a bit careful. And then I'm going back in with the India ink and I'm putting in the little husks or leaf fragments that happen at the base of each of the Pussy Willow fluff balls. So I'm just going through painting a little bit of leaf shape there underneath each one. And this is really fun. I'm really enjoying this. I know this is not kind of the standard traditional Inktober type of picture. I'm more familiar with watercolors, so I'm treating it kind of like a watercolor. But I'll get to the other kinds later in the month. And I really enjoyed this. All the little ones. I like the way this is coming out. This is looking kind of cool to me. A little bit simple, not super realistic. Then I'm going back in with a fine detail brush. I didn't want to do too much super detail, but I did want to add a little bit of shadow right underneath where the little leaf bit and the stick come together, because you're going to have a little crease right under there that's darker. So I'm going through and putting those in. And just continuing to fill those in, little shadows here and there underneath where the petals hit the sticks. And after that, let it dry and then peel off the tape. Thank you so much for coming by and listening to this. If you liked it, please subscribe. I will put all the materials in the comments down below. And thank you again. And here we go, the final product.